What's up, everybody? It's Spontaneously Pickled here today, and today I gotta say we're covering the amazing Labor Day episode of Raw, basically September 4th, 2023. And what a match! What a match! What a Raw! All starts red hot, and with the quote unquote newest member of Raw, known as Jey Uso. Now, let's be honest, his quitting was a lot shorter than Roman Reigns' time off, right? So let's get that right. But anyway, he cut a nice promo showing how grateful he was, not just for the fans, but also for like Cody Rhodes for giving him the chance to escape his family drama. And then, as expected, Sami Zayn came out, and it's something I actually was really hoping for because honestly, something that Sami Zayn's been fighting for a while to get him out of that situation too. Um, and it seems that Jay is fully faced now, so that was really cool. So that was really nice to see. Sami cut a very lovely promo reminding Jay that he expected this to be the case at some point, which is good to play on, because all the time that Sami has been trying to warn Jay for, of the inevitable situation anyway. Now, the funny part was that Sami went in for a shake, but Jay didn't shake. But then Sami was like, okay, I understand, and he left the ring. But then Jay called Sami back, so Sami came back in. Jay had said like, well, that wasn't very oozy of me. And then they just took a moment and then they hugged, which was really, really beautiful to see. Ever since I came back to watching WWE, I've noticed that Sami Zayn was always trying to get on Jay's good side, often getting rejected or super kicked right in the face. So it was really good to see them finally have some form of reconciliation and getting along finally. Let's see how long that lasts. Hopefully it will, right? Um, Also, as Jay was walking out, future heel Drew came out, and like he wanted to fight with Sammy with Jay, but then Sammy came in and calmed him down, only for Riddle to come and do the same thing. But Sammy was able to calm him down quite easily as well. Before the Riddle and McIntyre fight with the Viking Raiders, which by the way I do hope they get some more wins. They cut what Shinsuke they cut to what Shinsuke did to Seth Rollins at the Payback went off the air. Then they cut to Ricochet talking to Adam Page in the back, only for Seth to come out and Pierce to cut off Ricochet, asking Seth, "What is he doing here?" Now, you know, I really gotta say I respect Seth because he's such a fighting champion that, he just always comes no matter what, which is really, really cool. Something that maybe Reigns could take a page out of his book from his former Shield mate. Anyway, Ricochet was wanting Seth to take the day off. I thought it was gonna be a fight, but apparently it wasn't. And you see a pattern, by the way. I'm kind of teasing Reigns here, but nonetheless, for the record, I do like Reigns. By the way, I just want to say, but I do hate part-time champions, and by proxy, that means I'm not a big fan of Reigns being a part-time champion. But I wouldn't mind if he was a part-time and winning his matches or whatever. It really wouldn't bother me. So I just want to make that way. But I will say, I am going to cheer for Roman Reigns until he faces Cody because I do want Cody to win. I know, typical fan. Finally, Matt Riddle and Drew McIntyre versus the Viking Raiders in a tornado tag match, which is very good to see this happening more often. I hope they stick with it. The Viking Raiders finally make their entrance after the promo because Drew McIntyre and them came out first. Early in the match, Drew and Riddle isolate one of the Raiders. I didn't remember which one at the moment, so I do apologize. But then finally they came back in and regained control. There was a point in the match where Riddle hugged Drew, only for him to toss him at the Raiders outside. Riddle looked a little shocked, but then he challenged the Dudley Boys and played Homicide by shoving Drew McIntyre, saying, "Drew, get the tables." And let me tell you, Drew shoved him back, almost ending his life for telling him to grab those tables instead. Now, Drew and Riddle aimed to do a table suplex on Ivar, but Eric moved him off the table out of the way, and in the scuffle, the Raiders regained control of the match. Now, Barrett was going on about how they upset the gods for their losses, which is something I've been making a play on myself. And when I was watching it before, I was actually doing wrestling commentary. And, they're trying to make up for that. So I do agree with that. Now, McIntyre helped regain control and did a nice Death Valley driver on Ivar, which looked really, really good. Fight continued outside, and Drew pretty much just beat up Eric and Ivar until he threw Eric over the table, and then he did like a he threw Ivar over the table, did a belly to Eric, and then right when he landed, Ivar actually jumped right from the table and on to Drew when he was on the ground from the belly to belly. So that was really cool, right from the announcer's table. They were gonna put him through the announcer's table, but Riddle came in for the save. Riddle was gonna put Ivar through the table. Valhalla came out screaming at him. which gave Ivar a chance to come in for the save. Now they were gonna put Riddle to the table, but then Kofi came out to save for the save, only to accidentally kick Riddle when one of the Raiders moved out of the way, and then the Raiders actually took Kofi and used him as a missile and tossed him at Drew McIntyre as he was trying to make his way back into the ring, and and then from there they took Riddle and did the Ragnarok through the table. Now obviously this is definitely something that they're trying to do to build some tension towards the New Day and Riddle and McIntyre. But overall, I really did like the match. It was a lot of back and forth, which I really felt like a fair match. It did make Eric and Ivar look strong, though it did also make Drew look like a beast. Next up, Seth freaking Rollins comes out. He spoke about Payback and noting that he still won despite everything Nakamura threw at him. However, he did note that he wasn't happy that how he walked out looking more like the loser of the match than Shinsuke did, which I understand because Nakamura beat him up at the end. Now Shin came out finally, and then Shin, because he called him out, of course. Shin was being all methodical, and Seth told him to come on in the ring already. After Seth told him he has a preparation, but he's possibly a curve stop, perhaps. Shinsuke kept looking at Seth while he was swaying his body as if he was attempting some new form of seduction or something like that. Seth is married. I just want to make sure you know that. And you guys, you pretty much attacked him right from behind last night, so I doubt that that's going to work at this point. But good try. Taking notes from Shinsuke's playbook, of course, Seth Rollins did try a seductive tactic of his own, offering to put the title on the line again. Shinsuke considered going down, but then what seems to be an ear itch, which caused him to turn back around, and it speaks Japanese, and I actually forgot what he said, so I do apologize. Then Seth mentioned, not sure what he said, but I assume you accept my challenge, and let's go. But Shinsuke said no, which left Seth confused. Then they got into a funny no-off, actually, and Seth grew tired of games and ran down to attack Nakamura, but security came to break him up. But Nakamura got a hit on his back, and then Ricochet came out and started attacking Nakamura for the save. Now, they return, and then Seth and Pierce are arguing about letting him complete. And actually, it was actually kind of funny because it was the first time I've ever seen Adam Pierce reject someone to compete in a match, which was kind of funny because he usually says, "Oh, you're injured? Sure, have fun. Go break your back." And then we kick off to Shinsuke versus Ricochet. Now, after this segment, it cuts to the ring with the match, of course, between the two. The bell rang and Shinsuke ran out of the ring right away. I guess Shinsuke really, really wanted Labor Day off. He don't want to do no labor on Labor Day. I don't blame you, Shin. I don't blame you. So Ricochet chases him only to get pissed, to piss off Shinsuke, making Shinsuke accept that the day off is no longer in the plan. They had a back and forth until Ricochet went for a springboard, only for Nakamura to kick his feet out, giving him control of the match. As the match goes on further, they cut it to Damian Priest and Rhea Ripley watching the match with Nakamura and Ricochet, so I'm guessing that at this point it means Priest is back in the verge of looking for Seth Rollins' title. And then Ricochet starts to get more offense when they come back to the match, doing a flip off of Shinsuke's body. It was like he ran and just jumped off his body and did like a flip. I know he's done it before, but it was kind of funny because Shinsuke's not a big guy as some of the other ones he's done it too. And the fans started cheering on Ricochet, only for Nakamura to take control again with the dodge of a crossbody and a kick to the gut. The fight spills to the outside, and Nakamura does a lot of targeting on Ricochet's back. Eventually, they land into the timekeeper's area, aka I forgot Ricochet's girlfriend's name. Oh my god, Samantha Irvin. And Shinsuke grabs a steel chair and hits Ricochet with the steel chair for the DQ loss. I'm guessing he tried to make a point of injuring Ricochet with the chair, but then Rollins came out to save Ricochet. But then Shinsuke took control again by tossing Seth Rollins into the stairs, and then Ricochet actually recovered and tried to make the save in return. Rollins was fully incapacitated, and then Priest was debating to cash in his Money in the Bank, but then Rhea was like, "No, not tonight." Interesting enough. I expect that Ricochet was going against Rollins after the segment, but I guess that in this case it was the opposite, so that was really cool to see. Next up, they cut to a Zoey Stark interview. Stark showed her respect for Trish, but also mentioned that she's not to be messed with. And to my absolute delight, Shayna Baszler comes out and mentioned how they both dropped dead weight, and then Zoey was like kind of pretty much saying, "Shut up." Now, I know it, and she was like, "I know what you're doing. Let's fight." I'm actually really excited for this match, but more on that a little bit later. After that, the Judgment Day comes out. Damian Priest opens the segment talking about how they all have gold now, and then Dominic said something who no one can hear because the fans are booing so loud, but he said something. I don't even know what it was at this point, to be honest. Finn also congratulated Dominic on his 1-year anniversary of joining the Judgment Day. My goodness, how time flies by. Thanking Rhea also for being the voice of reason and giving them thanks for working things out with Priest, and that they are all champions. And then he also thanked JD McDonough, and then congratulated himself on being the Grand Slam champion. Congratulations, Finn, by the way. Now, even the fans slightly cheered that he deserves it, of course, and he really does. But of course, one of them, I forgot who it was like, "Oh, shut up," or something like that. Of course, he deserves it. Now, I will say Finn Balor is highly underrated, and I've seen a lot of people saying that he should go back to NXT, but I really don't think so. I just think that they need to give him some more victories because he was eating a lot of pins. So I mean, that makes anybody look weak, right? Now, anyway, Rhea, it comes to Rhea, then Rhea is like talking about how she gave them an ultimatum and how that pretty much worked, and they need to overcome that. And then she mentioned that the focus, which was something that frustrating her, is that the focus is not on the Judgment Day, and it's more focused on Jey Uso and his bloodline, because he returned. But to her credit, she did say the bloodline has fallen and the Judgment Day has risen as the most dominant faction in WWE, and she couldn't be any more right. Priest was about to go talk about something, but then JD came up and interrupted, and Priest told him he better make his coming out good. JD pled to be given a chance to come out and come into the ring and talk to them. JD mentions that changes are needed in Judgment Day and tells Priest to get rid of that briefcase. I thought he was going to get it, to try to get it for himself or something, but instead, actually, he did something really cool. He actually presented Damian Priest with a Senior Money in the Bank briefcase, which fit the color theme of Judgment Day. Priest was going to show his gratitude, but then Sammy interrupted Priest. Like, Priest really couldn't get a moment in today. Sammy mentioned that it took 5 of them to beat him in Owens and to get the tag team champions, and then called them pretty much title stealing poopsicles. And then mentioned that Dom was the biggest title stealing poopsicle of them all. And then he challenged them, but then JD came in for Dom's behalf and challenged Sami Zayn instead, so that's going to kick off that match for later on. Then we had Gunther's monologue. Gunther was speaking, is it Austrian? I believe it's Austrian, right? I forget which where he's from. And I told Gabriel he doesn't stay at a chance and will make history. After all these little vignettes showing at all the previous Intercontinental title championships, like Intercontinental champion is, I would actually kind of laugh if Gunther didn't break the record today, but I obviously that was a sign he was, right? Next up, we have Raquel Rodriguez with Adam Pearce talking. They had like a little bit of a mystery conversation, and apparently Adam Pearce agreed to that. But then Karen came out and mentions how people are rude, and Pearce agrees, which he was referring to her being rude. And then Chelsea, Karen, Green started talking a lot about Raquel, who was actually standing right behind her the whole time, causing a match that's going to happen later on. They also mentioned that Niven was being injured, but I have not really checked on this, so I hope that's not the case. If it's the case, that's really wild, and it really proves that these titles are seriously cursed. Next, we go to Shayna Baszler versus Zoe Stark. The match starts with some technical back and forth of both talking trash as they hit moves. Shayna then did a stomp on Zoe's elbow, starting to focus on her attacks on that part of the body, and almost landed an early Karafuda clutch, which led to a few rollouts. We got back into the match and started kicking Shayna, sending Shayna outside the ring. Shayna went in for a Karafuda clutch again outside the ring, but Zoe got out and took control like by banging her to the ring post and jumped into the ring and did like a crossbody over the ropes. Zoe had a good moment of control of the match, and she tried to do the Z360, but Baszler escaped, and then Zoe punched her, making her go outside to the ring again. And then she did a splash off the apron. Stark then went for a second rope flip move. See, like a rope stick, the springboard corkscrew, I believe she was going for. But Baszler actually caught her in a Karafuda clutch again, and Zoe tried to fight it. She got up at one point, fell back down, then she managed to get a vertical base yet again, only to get passed out, and then was down again. She was hanging on for a long time and nearly escaped, but Baszler did not give up on holding her in, and unfortunately, she passed out and Baszler got the victory. Now, having not seen Baszler on TV for a few weeks, I am really happy to see her get the win. But they also showed one another respect, and even in the loss, Zoe still looked strong. And I think that Shayna said something along the lines when she came to show actually Zoe was signing respect, which was nice. You lasted than others did, which was really cool because she lasted a long time in that Karafuda clutch. It was about a minute, I think. And I think throughout the match, I was not sure who was the face or the heel though. I did assume that Zoe was after the whole Trish situation, but it seemed like she was doing heel-like moves. But then at the same time, I don't know, it seems like they were a mutual respect. So I guess their faces, it's kind of hard to tell, right? After that, we kick off to a backstage segment with the Judgment Day. Finn was pleading to get JD McDonough in, but Priest was like, he needs to prove himself. And then Finn finally asked Dom, but Dom was like chilling, like, I don't know, what's up to you guys? If you guys like it, I like it. Then Rhea chimed in when Dom asked her and says, let's see what he does tonight against Finn by accident tonight. And then she caught herself slipping and corrected saying, Sammy. Priest offered to help him and Balor left, but Rhea pulled Dom back as he was prepping to go, mentioning to make sure that everything goes according to plan. So there's some scheming going on. Now we go to Raquel versus Chelsea Karen Green. The bell rings and Chelsea wants nothing to do with Raquel, trying to escape in the first part of the match. And Raquel even ragdolls Chelsea at one point. Chelsea finally gains a short-lived confidence as she kicked Raquel right in the injured knee. But then Raquel caught her off guard with a big boot to the face and then a fall away slam combo. Chelsea then tried to get revenge and slapped Raquel, but that didn't even phase her. Then Raquel clotheslined Chelsea so hard that I think her soul left her body. And then she landed a Tahana bomb for the victory. Now, the match was short, but it didn't need to be long. I actually did not expect Chelsea to get much momentum at all in that match anyway. And it was kind of good to show that Raquel is still a contender. Though I will say, if I had any small complaint, I would say, why not use local talent for that? Because once again, when you do this, it makes the tag team championships look weaker. Like, I do believe, yes, the women's championship be the tag team champion or single champion. Like, at least a single, like, top champion should be the tag team champion team member in a solo match. But you know what I mean? I feel like they could have given them more shine. They shouldn't just make them lose all the time like that either. They shouldn't be the jobbers, you know? Anyway, after the match, she started speaking and spoke about the interference that she was getting. And she said she was getting a rematch. And with Dom Bar from Rhea's side, which is going to be happening next week on Raw. Now, I can't wait to see that, but I do believe Rhea is going to win with some interference from JD McDonough. Chad Gable then cuts a promo, and Chad was going and started to say that his he's not just a tag team special, but he also has a bigger desire. He's a solo specialist too, and has a bigger desire to win the title than Gunther has to keep it. I like both either way, so I'm happy since it's a title match that I predicted, but I do predict the victory for Gunther. Since it's a title match, I'm going to give that prediction right off the bat. I took a lot of these notes before I actually recorded, FYI. Now, then we have a Drew and Riddle backstage segment. Drew goes backstage looking for Kofi, and Riddle calms him down. Then Drew mentions being mad about the Jay situation, and we'll go for Cody Rhodes. So I guess there's a rivalry incoming if this and it goes wrong. Then he and Kofi got into what happened last week, and then this week, and things got tense between Drew, and he mentioned that he's going to be watching them. After that, we kick off to Miz TV. Now, Miz claimed he did not lose the match and he was robbed, and mentioned that exposing the other night, saying that he bought his way out of the match as a referee. Then all of a sudden, he calls out his guest, John Cena. John Cena's song hits and no one comes out, but then soon after a while, the joke was on the camera man, who had basically been following Cena's pattern when he runs to the ring. So basically, he comes to the ring, quote unquote, invisible Cena. And then Miz was talking to Cena, but we still couldn't see him. Miz asked Cena questions in invisible mode, but even invisible Cena didn't answer the way he wanted. And the fans kept saying, yeah. And despite the answers that ideally being no for those questions, by the way, then the Miz asked him not to say yeah. And then he thought about it and said not to say yes, because he also doesn't like that. So I'm guessing that was a Daniel Bryan reference. I know they had some good history too back in 2011 or so. He then told Invisible Cena to leave. He then slapped Invisible Cena, but Invisible Cena shoved him. and then the Miz did a school cussing finale on Invisible Cena. And to be honest, that's going to have me laughing. But part of me thought, and I think that the way he took onto that too, that maybe Miz needs a shrink at this point. He really definitely needs a shrink. Next up, we have Jey Uso backstage. Jey walks down and runs into Akira Tozawa, who was swooped and then walked away. Jey was then confronted by Adam Pearce, about how others aren't happy about him being there, and also how there has to be a compensation that will happen where somebody gets traded over to SmackDown. Tommaso then comes up to Pearce as Jey walks away, and they continue whatever conversation they seem to have in previous. Maybe Tommaso's going to be moving to SmackDown. After that, we have Sami Zayn versus JD McDonough. The match starts immediately, and JD runs out of the ring and cowers for a bit. It seems that there was a theme for tonight, where nobody wanted to fight tonight for some reason. But anyway, Zayn catches him and has a red hot start, causing chance for Sami. They have a bit of back and forth with Sami Zayn showing quite a bit of power compared to JD McDonough. But McDonough uses a more aggressive and dirty fight style to get control of the match. McDonough runs at Zayn, but then gets caught with an impressive Michimoku driver after he ran from the rope, which he kicked out, of course. Zayn then did the exploder on the turnbuckle and was about to do the haluva kick, but then Dirty Dom pulls McDonough out of the way, and then Zayn attacks Dom, and Dom distracts him enough that JD McDonough sneaks up behind him and rolls Sami Zayn up for the win. After the match, Zayn attacks Dom, and then Dom tries to run run, but then Zayn catches him, but then he begs for help. But then JD McDonough stands there. He took a little while, but then he came in to help him. And then when he came to help him, Dom ran away. He told Dom to run to go, so Dom did. And in that case, Zayn caught JD McDonough, and then he did expose to JD McDonough and the liver kick to JD McDonough. So welcome to the Judgment Day, JD McDonough. JD McDonough. And then after that, on return, they cut to JD walking backstage. Finn comes up congratulating JD, and then Priest apprehensively saying, "You did all right." Dom then walks off to talk to Jey Uso actually, and talks to him how they both come from messed up families, and of course having Hall of Fame fathers, and saying that he knows exactly what he's going through. He then offers to let Jay into the Judgment Day since he has no family like Dom had at one point. I wonder how this is going to turn out, actually. I really, really do wonder if they're going to go somewhere with this. But I do know that in the past, the Judgment Day and the Bloodline were on a collision course. I do wonder where this is going to end up. Then we got the main event where Chad Gable versus Gunther for the Intercontinental title, which is the match that I was really, really excited for. Now, Chad came out, and the first thing I gotta say is I noticed that his family was sitting there, which is definitely a sign that he's gonna lose because WWE are sadists. Anyway, I also couldn't help but see as Gunther got into the ring that it was also a fan holding greatest IC champ of all time, and I gotta say I couldn't agree more. Like I really love Gunther's style. He reminds me of like a classic wrestler for some reason, so I really like his style. Anyway. This is really a tough one because I actually want both of them to win. Part of me wants Gable to win, but then another part of me wants Gunther to hold the IC title longer so they could have like the may the best man win basically. I have to say. Anyway, the match starts early in the match. Gunther overpowers Gable very easily, and Gable starts to show a little bit of frustration quite early in the match. They then hit a very good few reversal spots, and then when the ref breaks them up, Gable taps Gunther's chest in the most comedic way. Gable had an interesting spot where he tangled actually Gunther's ankle on the ropes, and then he started attacking Gunther's ankle, which was really cool. But then that momentum was like pretty much short-lived when Gunther did a huge kick to Gable shortly after, doing one of the infamous chops. After he also did one of his infamous chops, continuing his assault basically. But Gable returned some chops in return, only for one of Gunther's infamous chops. Boom. Hitting him so hard that Gable was on the floor, basically. Gunther starts to trash talk the fans, but Gable got up and then pulled his straps down. Then he tried to start a small fury, only for Gunther to just scoot him up, and put him in a rope and chopping the skin off the chest, chopping the skin off his chest. Gable tried to roll an ankle lock still, though, but didn't phase Gunther at all. So he just slammed Gable, and they got into a scuffle, sending them both over the top rope. Gable then lands a German suplex on the outside, but then he notices that the referee is like at a 7 or 8 count. So then he got Gunther back into the ring, and then he ran back into the ring. And when he got back into the ring, Gunther landed a powerbomb, but I don't think he landed all of it, so Gable kicked out. They both fought on the top. Then they both fought on the top rope, and then Gunther chopped Gable off the top rope, and then Gable just fell off, and then he ran back up, and he delivered a hell of a powerful suplex on Gunther. And then after that, he did a diving headbutt. And then after that, he went straight for the ankle lock. And when Gunther kicked out, but then unfortunately, Gunther broke it. But after that, the Gunther and him have a few, good exchanges. And then Gable got the best of it with a nice back suplex. Now, Gable actually did a funny spot again, like a little bit as well when Gable kind of like hyped up. He restrapped and then unstrapped immediately again. And then actually what he managed to do is he managed to land the Chaos Theory on Gunther. But Gunther kicked out at 2. And then Gable goes for a moonsault, but Gunther kicks his foot only for Gable to put him in the ankle lock once again. But Gunther escapes and kicks Gable around and puts him in the sleeper hold. And then the fans start chanting for Gable to will him on further. Gable eventually escapes with a roll up, but then Gunther does a sleeper it was like a really like devastating like sleeper like suplex that he did, which looks like Gable landed on his head or something like that, which also looked like it dazed Gable, and it seems like he almost got up on autopilot, I gotta say, only to walk into a powerbomb. And then like a super powerful lariat, which Gunther did for the win. Now, I gotta say, like, it was a really, really good matchup. But what's sad is that it broke Gable's family's heart. Like, the kids were crying. Like, good gracious, WWE, you guys gotta stop doing that. Nonetheless, congratulations to Gunther on making history and having the longest reign for the Intercontinental Championship. But I will say the match was really, really good, and I do hope that they continue to do matches like that on Raw, because this match was like a pay-per-view quality match. This Raw almost seemed almost like a pay-per-view quality Raw, in my honest opinion. Maybe it's a hot take of mine, but I thought it was a really, really good Raw, and I do hope that they continue to do Raws like this. I said also I wanted to just mention that that does conclude the review of Raw, but I will say I'm still working on my reviews. At the moment, I'm reading notes, and it's a lot of us. I'm probably gonna try to get a little bit better on my organization of that. So I do apologize if I stuttered at times. I might just leave it to Cliff Point and then just go from there. I'm still like planning out the best way to make these videos as smooth as possible for you guys, the viewer. But I do want to thank you guys who have been watching so far. I got a really lovely comment from a user yesterday. I mean earlier today, which to you by the way, shouts out to you. Um, and basically, like I'm definitely gonna keep doing these, and I'm glad that people are starting to take notice of them. I do definitely hope to improve more of the quality and do other things to make my channel grow more and more and more. I'm also thinking about making some small changes as well. As I mentioned before, the stuff I have right now is all temporary. I But I just wanted to thank you guys for watching. I really, really do want to thank you guys for watching as I was going through all these changes with my channel and doing little things that I can do to make my channel better. So once again, if you are here still, thank you so much. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And Spontaneously Pickled is out. See you guys soon.